Part 1. The Silent Century. The halls of the Galactic Historical Preservation Society were quiet as they always were. Director Juan moved through the corridors on 6 legs, his compound eyes scanning the endless rows of sealed chambers. Each chamber held memories of species that no longer existed. Some had died in wars, others had simply faded away, their populations declining until none remained. Juan had dedicated his life to preserving these memories. It was important work, he believed. Someone had to remember. Today he was checking the human section. The humans had been gone for exactly 100 years. Their homeworld, Terra, now orbited empty behind massive energy shields. It had become a monument, a tomb for a species that had burned bright and died fast. Juan had always found humans fascinating. They had been loud, chaotic, and impossibly stubborn. They had also been brave, perhaps too brave for their own good. The Void War had taken them. The consuming swarm had swept through human space like a plague, eating everything in its path. The humans had fought back with everything they had. They had burned their own colonies to deny the swarm resources. They had rammed ships into swarm hive clusters. They had fought until there was nothing left to fight with. The last confirmed human transmission had come from Mars, 100 years ago exactly. After that silence, Juan stopped at Chamber 247. Inside, frozen in cryo-sleep, was Taemin. He was the last human, or at least the last one anyone knew about. Taemin had been a soldier, badly wounded in the defense of the Mars orbital stations. The medics had put him in emergency cryo-sleep, hoping to save his life. They had succeeded. But by the time he could have been safely awakened, there was no one left to wake him. No human doctors, no human facilities, just Taemin frozen and alone. The Galactic Council had decided to keep him that way. What would be the point of waking him, they argued, only to tell him that everyone he had ever known was dead, that his entire species was extinct? It seemed cruel. Better to let him sleep, preserved forever as a living artifact. Juan had never been comfortable with that decision, but it was not his choice to make. He was about to move on to the next chamber when his communicator chimed. It was an urgent alert from the monitoring station. Juan felt his antennae twitch with curiosity. Urgent alerts were rare. He activated the communicator. Director Juan here. What is the situation? The voice that responded belonged to Operator Milik, a young Kalathi whose crystalline body resonated with barely contained excitement. Director, we have received a signal. A very old signal using human military encryption protocols. Juan froze. That is impossible. All human military vessels were destroyed. The records are clear. I know, Director, but the signal is real. We have verified it multiple times. It is using authentication codes from the Earth Defense Fleet, specifically from the 7th Battle Group. The signal originated from beyond the Outer Veil. The Outer Veil. Juan felt a chill run through his exoskeleton. The Outer Veil was a region of space where physics behaved strangely, where ships that entered rarely returned. It was considered impassable by most species. The humans had launched several expeditions into the Veil during the Void War, desperate attempts to find safe routes away from the swarm. None of those expeditions had ever reported back. Send me the data, Juan said. All of it. Minutes later, Juan was in his office reviewing the signal on his holographic display. It was definitely human in origin. The encryption was old but authentic. Someone or something had sent this message from beyond the Veil, using codes that should not exist anymore. The message itself was short, just a repeating series of numbers and letters. It looked like a coordinate string, but Juan could not be sure without human expertise. Human expertise. Juan looked at Chamber 247 on his monitor. Taemin was the only human left who could analyze this signal, but waking him would violate Council protocols. It would also mean telling him the truth about what had happened to his species. Juan had seen the psychological profiles. Taemin had family. A sister named Yuna, parents, friends. All of them were listed as killed in action or missing, presumed dead. Juan made his decision. He submitted a formal request to the Council to wake Taemin for consultation on the signal. The Council's response came back within hours, and it was exactly what Juan had expected. Denied. The signal was likely a hoax or an echo from old human technology, they said. There was no need to disturb the last human for something so trivial, but Juan could not let it go. He had spent his entire career studying extinct species, learning their patterns and behaviors. Humans did not do things without purpose. If this signal was real, if it had been sent deliberately, then someone wanted it to be found. Someone wanted humanity to be remembered or perhaps to be found. That night, Juan did something he had never done before. He broke protocol. He used his director-level access codes to override the locks on Chamber 247. The cryopod began its wake-up sequence. It would take 6 hours for the process to complete safely. Juan spent those hours preparing, gathering information about the last 100 years, trying to find the gentlest way to explain extinction. When Tai Min finally opened his eyes, Juan was there. The human looked young, perhaps 30 years old by human standards. His eyes were brown, his hair was black, and his face was covered with the scars of battle. He blinked slowly, his body still adjusting to being awake. When he spoke, his voice was rough from a century of disuse. "Where am I? Where is the medical team? Is Mars secure?" Juan felt something he had rarely experienced in his long life. Pity. Deep, aching pity. "Timon, my name is Director Juan. I am the head of the Galactic Historical Preservation Society. You have been in cryosleep for a very long time. I need you to prepare yourself for what I am about to tell you." He saw the fear flash across Timon's face. The human tried to sit up, but his muscles were still weak. "How long? How long have I been asleep?" 100 years. The color drained from Timon's face. "My sister, Yuna. She was on the evacuation ships from Mars. Did she make it?" "Did any of them make it?" Juan had rehearsed this moment, but now that it was here, all his prepared words felt inadequate. "Timon, I am deeply sorry. The evacuation ships were lost. The swarm overwhelmed the Mars orbital defense. According to our records, there were no survivors. Not from Mars, not from anywhere. The human species is considered extinct. You are the last." Timon stared at him. The human said nothing for a long moment. Then slowly, tears began to stream down his face. He did not sob or cry out. He just sat there, tears flowing silently as the weight of 100 years of loss settled onto his shoulders. Juan wanted to offer comfort, but what comfort could he possibly give? Finally, Timon spoke, his voice barely a whisper. "Why did you wake me? If everyone is gone, why wake me?" Juan activated the holographic display, showing Timon the signal. "Because of this. It came from beyond the outer veil. It uses human military codes. I need you to tell me what it means." Timon looked at the signal, his tears still falling. But something changed in his expression. His eyes focused, his breathing steadied. He leaned forward, studying the numbers and letters. His hands trembled as he reached out to manipulate the display. "This is not just a coordinate string," Timon said, his voice growing stronger. "This is a personal identifier code. Every soldier in the defense fleet had one. This code belongs to someone I know, someone I thought was dead." "Who?" Juan asked. Timon looked up at him, and in his eyes, Juan saw something dangerous. Hope. "My sister. This is Yuna's code. My sister is alive, and she is calling for help." Part 2. Ghosts in the Data, the research vessel. Echoing memory cut through space at maximum velocity. Inside, Timon stood at the observation window, watching stars stream past like tears. 3 weeks had passed since he had awakened to find himself the last of his kind. 3 weeks of trying to understand a galaxy that had moved on without humans. 3 weeks of grief so heavy it felt like drowning. But beneath the grief was something else. Purpose. Yuna's signal was real. Director Juan had confirmed it through every test available. Somehow, impossibly, Timon's sister was alive and sending messages from beyond the outer veil. The Council had refused to investigate, calling it a waste of resources to chase ghosts. But Juan had found allies, scientists and explorers curious enough to risk their careers. They had assembled this small expedition in secret. "You should eat something," a voice said behind him. Timon turned to see Jiwan, the ship's engineer. She was Kalathi, her body made of living crystal that reflected light in beautiful patterns. She was young for her species, barely 40 years old, and she had been fascinated by Timon since the moment they met. To her, he was a living piece of history. To him, she was one of the few people on the ship who did not look at him with pity. "I am not hungry," Timon said. It was mostly true. The food synthesizers could make anything he wanted, but nothing tasted right. "Nothing tasted like home? You need to maintain your strength," Jiwan insisted. "We will reach the signal's origin point in 2 days. You will want to be ready." Before Timon could respond, the ship's communication system activated. All crew to the bridge, Juan's voice announced. We have found something. They hurried to the bridge. The room was filled with beings from a dozen different species, all gathered around the central holographic display. Juan stood at the center, his insectoid body rigid with tension. When he saw Timon enter, he gestured to the display. We have been tracking the signal as we travel, Juan explained. But we have discovered something unexpected. The signal we initially detected is not alone. There are dozens more, perhaps hundreds, all along this trajectory. They form a trail leading deeper into the veil. The display showed a map of space. Each signal was marked with a glowing point of light. Together they formed a path stretching into the unknown regions beyond the outer veil. Timon studied the map, his mind racing. Where are these signals coming from? He asked. That is the remarkable part, Juan said. He zoomed in on one of the signal points. This location corresponds to the Battle of Kepler Station, a major engagement during the Void War. The humans fought the swarm here 97 years ago. It was considered one of the last battles before the human collapse. Juan zoomed in on another signal. This one is from the Titan defense line, 93 years ago. And this one from the Neptune approach, 89 years ago. Do you see the pattern? Timon felt his heart begin to race. These are all battle sites. But the dates are wrong. Humans were supposed to be extinct 100 years ago. These battles happened after that. Exactly, Juan said. We thought humans had died in the Void War. But these signals suggest something different. The battles continued. Far longer than anyone recorded. A new voice joined the conversation. It came from the ship's main computer, but it sounded human. Female. Warm. I can confirm Timon's observation. I have analyzed the energy signatures at each location. The weapon patterns match human military technology, but there are anomalies, modifications, adaptations, things that should not exist in the human arsenal. This was Bora, Timon's AI companion. She had been a human once, a pilot named Bora who had chosen to upload her consciousness into a computer before the fall. The Council had found her data core drifting in space and given it to Timon, thinking it might help him adjust. It had. Bora was the only other human mind in existence, even if her body was made of circuits and light. What kind of modifications? Timon asked. Advanced things, Bora replied. Energy weapons we were barely beginning to understand. Ship configurations designed for long-term space travel, not combat. And something else. I am detecting traces of technology that is not human at all. Not Council technology either. Something older. Juan's antennae twitched. We must investigate one of these sites. The closest is 3 hours away. Jiwon, can you adjust our course? Already done, Director, Jiwon said from her engineering station. 3 hours later, they emerged from faster-than-light travel near a debris field. The remains of ships floated in the void, twisted metal and shattered hulls. Timon recognized some of the designs. Human destroyers, swarm bioships. But there were others he did not recognize. Strange vessels with asymmetrical designs and hull materials that seemed to shimmer and shift. Scanning for data cores or log systems, Bora announced. Found one. It is badly damaged, but I can attempt recovery. They waited in tense silence as Bora worked. Minutes passed like hours. Finally, the holographic display flickered to life, showing fragmented video footage. The image was poor quality, corrupted by time and damage, but Timon could make out what he was seeing. A human ship, but not like any he remembered. The hull was scorched and patched with materials that looked almost organic. The bridge was visible through a viewport, and inside, Timon could see figures moving. Humans. They wore armor he did not recognize, their faces visible through clear helmets. They looked tired, battle-worn, but alive. The video jumped, cutting to a view of space. Ships were fighting, human vessels engaging swarm bioforms. But the tactics were different. The humans were not trying to win. They were herding the swarm, driving them in a specific direction, toward something. The video quality worsened, becoming almost impossible to see. But just before it cut out entirely, Timon saw a face he knew. Yuna. Older, her face marked with scars, but unmistakably his sister. She was shouting orders, her voice distorted by static. The video ended. Timon stood frozen, staring at the empty display. Yuna was alive. He had hoped, but seeing her, even in such a damaged recording, made it real. She had survived. Somehow she had survived. There is more, Bora said quietly. I found a message log. It is heavily encrypted, but I have broken through. Playing it now. The speakers crackled to life. Yuna's voice filled the bridge, tired but determined. To any human ships receiving this, we could not come back. The swarm found something out here. Something worse. We drew it away from the core worlds. Away from everyone. If you are hearing this, know that we are still fighting. We are still here. But we can never come home. They followed us. We led them away. Do not look for us. Remember us. But do not follow, the message ended. Silence filled the bridge. Every being in the room was staring at Taimin. He could feel their eyes on him, their questions. But he had only one thought in his mind. She said, do not follow. Taimin said quietly. But she also sent a signal. She wanted to be found. There is more to this. Something she could not say in an open message. Juan approached him carefully. Taimin, what do you think happened? Where did humanity go? Taimin looked at the map again, at the trail of signals leading into the veil. Each signal was a breadcrumb. Each one a message. Yuna was telling a story, leaving clues for someone smart enough to follow. And Taimin understood his sister. He understood how she thought. They are not extinct, Taimin said. They escaped. They found something out there, something dangerous enough that they had to lead it away from the rest of the galaxy. They sacrificed themselves. They became exiles to protect everyone else. But why not tell the council? Ji-won asked. Why disappear without explanation? Because the council would have followed, Taimin said. They would have tried to help, and that would have brought the danger back. Yuna did what she always did. She protected people, even if it meant they would never know what she had done. Bora's voice was soft when she spoke. What do we do now? Taimin looked at the map, at the trail leading into the unknown. His sister was out there. His people were out there. Changed, perhaps. Transformed by a century of isolation and war. But alive, we follow the trail, Taimin said. We find out what happened. And we find my sister. Juan made a sound that might have been agreement or concern. The council will not approve. They have already ordered us to abandon this mission. Then we do not tell them, Taimin said. He looked at everyone on the bridge. I understand if you want to turn back. This is my quest, not yours. But I am going forward. With or without this ship. Ji-won was the first to speak. I am with you. I did not join this expedition to play it safe. One by one, the others agreed. Even Juan, who had the most to lose, nodded his insectoid head. Very well. We continue. But we must be prepared for what we might find. If humans have been fighting for a century in isolation, they may not be the people you remember. I know, Taimin said, but he did not care. Yuna was alive. That was enough. The echoing memory crossed into the outer veil 3 days later, and immediately everything changed. The stars looked wrong here, their light bent and twisted by forces that physics could not fully explain. The ship's instruments went haywire, showing readings that made no sense. Gravity fluctuated randomly. Time itself seemed to move differently, faster in some moments, slower in others. This is why no one comes here, Ji-won said from her engineering station. Her crystalline body was glowing brighter than usual, a sign of stress. The veil does not follow normal rules. Ships that enter often lose their way. Some never come out. Taimin gripped the railing of the bridge, trying to steady himself as the ship lurched. His stomach felt strange, like he was falling and rising at the same time. Beside him, Juan was making clicking sounds of distress, his antennae flat against his head. Bora, are you functioning properly? Taimin asked. The AI's response came slower than usual, her voice distorted. I'm experiencing difficulties. The veil is affecting my systems. Digital consciousness is particularly vulnerable here. I am having trouble maintaining coherent thought patterns. My memories are fragmenting. Fear shot through Taimin. Bora was all he had left of humanity besides himself. If she was damaged, if he lost her, he would truly be alone. What can I do? How can I help? I need you to anchor me, Bora said. Talk to me. Remind me who I am. The veil is trying to scatter my consciousness. I need something to hold on to. So Taimin talked. He told her stories about Earth, about the home they had both lost. He described the rain, the smell of grass after a storm, the taste of fresh bread. He talked about his sister, about memories from childhood. And slowly Bora's voice steadied. She was still there. Still fighting. Signal ahead, Ji-won announced. Strong readings. Artificial structures. Multiple contacts. The view screen showed what she meant. Floating in the strange space of the veil was a station, but it was like no station Taemin had ever seen. It was massive, built from materials that seemed to shift and change color. Parts of it looked human in design, but other sections were clearly alien and not from any species Taemin recognized. Life signs? Juan asked. Negative, Jiwan replied. The station appears abandoned, but it is still generating power. Something is keeping it operational. They docked carefully with the station. A boarding party was assembled. Taemin, Juan, Jiwan, and a security officer named Sunho. Sunho was a large, intimidating being from a warrior species. He had said very little during the journey, but his eyes never stopped watching. Taemin did not trust him, though he could not say exactly why. The inside of the station was dark, lit only by their portable lights. The air was breathable, which surprised everyone. Someone had maintained life support. They moved through corridors that mixed human architecture with alien design. Doors opened automatically as they approached, as if the station was welcoming them. They found the control center eventually. It was a large room filled with computer terminals and holographic displays. Most were dark, but some were still active, showing data streams in human language. Taemin moved to the nearest terminal, his hands shaking as he began to access the files. What is this place? Jiwan asked, her voice echoing in the empty room. A research station, Taemin said, reading the files. Built by humans after they entered the veil. They were studying something, trying to understand it. He pulled up more files, his eyes widening as he read. They were not just running from the swarm, they were chasing it. Chasing it? Juan moved closer. Why would they do that? Taemin found video logs and played them. The holographic display showed a human scientist, a woman with tired eyes and gray hair. She spoke quickly, urgently. Log entry 847, we have confirmed our worst fears. The swarm was not invading our space for conquest. It was fleeing. It had awakened something in the galactic core, something ancient and terrible. We call them the Nameless. They exist outside normal reality. They consume not just matter, but the fabric of space itself. The swarm accidentally released them while feeding on an ancient structure. The scientist paused, looking off camera. Humanity made a choice. We could not let the Nameless reach the core worlds. So we became bait. We chased the swarm, drew its attention, led it deeper into the veil, and the Nameless followed. We have been fighting them here, keeping them contained for decades now. But we are running out of resources, out of people. This may be our last transmission. The video ended. The bridge was silent. Taemin felt his world tilt. His sister, his people, had been fighting alone for a century. Not because they were lost, not because they had failed, but because they had chosen to sacrifice themselves to save everyone else. This is impossible, Sunho said suddenly. His voice was hard, angry. This must be false data, propaganda. There is no evidence of these nameless beings in any council records. Because the council never came this far, Taemin shot back. Because humans were the only ones brave enough or stupid enough to chase the threat to its source. Sunho moved toward Taemin, his large frame intimidating. Brave or stupid, it does not matter. This mission ends now. We are returning to council space and this station will be destroyed. Its data cannot be allowed to spread. What are you talking about? Jiwan demanded. This is proof that humans survived, that they have been protecting the galaxy. Exactly, Sunho said. He pulled out a weapon, a council military-issue plasma pistol. The council knew. We have always known. Human ships were detected in the Veil decades ago. But we made a decision. Humanity was too dangerous, too aggressive, too willing to sacrifice themselves, which made them unpredictable. We decided it was better if they stayed out here. Better if everyone thought they were extinct. Taemin felt rage boiling inside him. You knew. All this time you knew my people were alive and fighting, and you did nothing. You let the galaxy think we were dead. We protected the galaxy from you, Sunho said coldly. Humans are a danger to stability. This station's data will never reach council space. He aimed the weapon at the central computer core. But before he could fire, Jiwon moved. Her crystalline body could manipulate light, and she used that ability now, creating a blinding flash. Sunho staggered back and Juan rushed forward, using his superior strength to knock the weapon from Sunho's hands. The two began to struggle. Download everything, Juan shouted to Taemin. All the data. We need proof. Taemin worked frantically at the terminal using every skill he had learned as a soldier. Files poured into his portable storage device. Research logs, battle reports, coordinates, everything. Behind him, the fight continued. Sunho was strong, but Hwan was faster and had more limbs to work with. Jiwon joined in, using her crystalline body to create walls of hardened light containing Sunho. A new alarm suddenly blared through the station. "Warning!" Bora's voice announced over the communication system, detecting massive energy surge approaching the station. "Unknown origin. Arrival in 3 minutes. What is it?" Taemin asked, still downloading. "I do not know," Bora said, her voice frightened. "But it is massive, and it is moving with purpose. Taemin, I think it might be them, the Nameless." The download was at 90%. Taemin watched the progress bar, willing it to move faster. Behind him, Sunho had broken free and was running for the door. Hwan started to chase him, but Taemin called out, "Let him go. We need to leave now." The download finished. Taemin grabbed the storage device and ran. They made it back to the echoing memory with seconds to spare. As the ship disengaged from the station and began to accelerate, Taemin looked at the view screen. Something was coming through the veil. It was hard to look at directly. His eyes kept sliding off it, refusing to focus. It was like a tear in space, a wound in reality itself, and it was hungry. The thing reached the station. There was no explosion, no dramatic destruction. The station simply stopped existing. One moment it was there, the next there was nothing but empty space. Not even debris, just nothing. "Move," Taemin shouted. "Get us out of here." The ship lurched into faster-than-light travel, fleeing deeper into the veil. Behind them, the tear in space grew larger, reaching out like it was trying to catch them. But slowly they pulled ahead. The danger faded. Taemin collapsed into a chair, his heart racing. Jiwon sat beside him, her crystalline body flickering with exhaustion. Hwan stood at the command console, all of his eyes focused on the navigation screens. "We have to warn the council," Jiwon said. "They need to know about the Nameless." "They already know," Taemin said bitterly. Sunho proved that. They knew and they did nothing. They were content to let humans die out here. "But now we have proof," Hwan said, gesturing to the storage device Taemin held. "We have the data, the logs, the research. We can force them to act." "Maybe," Taemin said, "but first we follow the trail. We find Yuna. We find out what happened to the rest of humanity." He looked at the view screen at the strange stars of the veil. "Because something tells me this is not over. If the Nameless are real, if they are as dangerous as those logs suggest, then my sister is still out there fighting. And I am not leaving her again." A new signal appeared on their sensors. This one was stronger, clearer, and it was broadcasting a message on repeat. Bora played it over the speakers. It was Yuna's voice, older but unmistakable, to any ships receiving this. "We are holding position at coordinates attached. We need assistance. The breach is growing. We cannot contain it alone. If anyone is listening, if anyone can help, please respond. This is Admiral Yuna of the Veil Fleet. We are still here. We are still fighting. Please, do not let us die alone." Taemin stood. "Set course for those coordinates. Maximum speed." "But the Nameless," Jiwon said. "We just barely escaped." "I know," Taemin said, "but my sister needs help. And I am done running." The coordinates led them to a region of the veil where space itself seemed to scream. Reality was thin here, stretched like old fabric ready to tear. The echoing memory approached slowly, every sensor array active, searching for signs of the human fleet. They did not have to search long. Space tore open in front of them, not the hungry, consuming tear of the Nameless, but something controlled, deliberate. A massive portal opened, and through it came ships. Hundreds of them, thousands, more vessels than Taemin had ever seen in one place. But these were not the sleek military ships he remembered from his time. These were monsters. Generation ships the size of cities, their hulls covered in strange armor that seemed to be part metal, part something organic. War vessels bristled with weapons that glowed with unfamiliar energy. Smaller craft darted between the larger ships like schools of fish, moving with precision that suggested a shared mind. "By the ancestors," Hwan whispered, "it is an entire civilization. They did not just survive. They built something new." A communication channel opened. A face appeared on the view screen, and Taemin's breath caught in his throat. It was Yuna, but it was also not Yuna. She was older now, in her 50s at least. Her face was marked with scars, both from battle and from cybernetic implants that traced silver lines across her skin. One of her eyes glowed with a faint blue light, clearly artificial. Her hair was cut short and streaked with gray. She wore armor that looked like it had been grown rather than built, adapting to her body, but her smile when she saw Tai Min was exactly as he remembered. "Little brother," she said, her voice thick with emotion, "I never thought I would see you again. I thought you died on Mars." "I almost did," Tai Min said, tears streaming down his face. "They put me in cryo-sleep. I woke up a month ago. They told me everyone was dead. They told me I was the last human." "You were supposed to be," Yuna said. "We made sure everyone thought we were extinct. It was the only way to keep them safe." She looked past him, seeing the others on the bridge. "You brought friends, good. We will need all the help we can get." "What happened to you?" Tai Min asked. "Where have you been?" "Come aboard my ship," Yuna said. "I will show you. I will show you everything." An hour later, Tai Min stood on the bridge of Yuna's flagship, the Eternal Vigil. It was enormous, large enough to hold a city. And it did hold a city. Through the viewports, Tai Min could see parks, buildings, farms. People lived here, families, children who had been born in space, who had never seen Earth or any planet. Yuna walked beside him, her mechanical leg making a soft clicking sound with each step. She had explained that she had lost the leg in a battle 15 years ago. The replacement was better than the original, she said without emotion. Stronger, more durable. "How many?" Tai Min asked. "How many humans survived?" "When we fled into the Veil, we had maybe 50,000 people," Yuna said. "Across 30 ships, we thought it would be a temporary retreat. A place to regroup and plan a counterattack against the swarm. But then we found the truth about what the swarm was fleeing from. We found the Nameless." They reached a viewing deck. Through the massive window, Tai Min could see the human fleet spread out in formation. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. "We lost half our people in the first year," Yuna continued. "The Nameless are not like the swarm. You cannot fight them with normal weapons. They exist outside reality. Every time they manifest, they tear holes in space. We had to learn, adapt. We found ancient structures in the Veil, ruins left by species that came before. We studied their technology, learned their secrets, and we changed ourselves to fight." Another person joined them on the deck. He was young, maybe 30, with dark eyes and short hair. His body was covered in the same adaptive armor as Yuna's. He moved with the confidence of someone who had never known fear. "This is Dae-hyun," Yuna said. "My second in command. He was born here in the Veil. He has never seen Earth." Dae-hyun studied Tai Min with curiosity. "You are the one from before. The last sleeper. Yuna talks about you sometimes." "I talk about a lot of things," Yuna said quickly. But Tai Min could see the affection in her eyes when she looked at Dae-hyun. "Dae-hyun commands our forward battle groups. He is one of our best." "We have to be," Dae-hyun said seriously. "The Nameless do not give second chances." Tai Min tried to process everything he was seeing and hearing. "How many humans are there now?" "After all these years?" Yuna exchanged a look with Dae-hyun. "We number about 300,000 now, spread across our fleet. We have grown despite the losses. We have even found others out here, other species that fled into the Veil, escaping wars or disasters. They joined us. We are not just humans anymore. We are the Veil fleet, the forgotten ones, the ones who hold the line. But why?" Tai Min asked. "Why not come back? Why not ask for help?" "Because the Nameless followed us," Yuna said simply. "We are the bait that keeps them distracted. If we return to Council space, we lead them there. And the Council does not have the weapons to fight what we fight. They would die in days, maybe hours. So we stay here, we fight. We bleed, we die. But the galaxy lives." An alarm began to sound throughout the ship. Red lights flashed. Yuna's face hardened. "Battle stations," she announced calmly. "Another breach is opening. All ships to formation pattern 7. Through the window, Tai Min could see it. Space was tearing open. And through the tear came something that hurt to look at. The Nameless had found them. The human fleet moved with practiced precision. Ships that had seemed chaotic moments before now formed perfect geometric patterns. Weapons powered up, glowing with strange colors that seemed to hurt reality itself. "You use the ancient technology," Hwan said, watching from beside Tai Min. "The precursor weapons. We had no choice, Daehyun said. Normal weapons pass through the Nameless without effect, but the precursors knew how to fight things that exist outside reality. Their weapons target the fundamental structure of space. They hurt the Nameless, so we learned to use them. The battle began. Human ships fired weapons that looked like tears in space, controlled somehow, directed at the Nameless entity. The creature writhed and twisted, clearly in pain. But it was huge, and it was strong. It reached out with tendrils of unreality, touching ships. Where it touched, ships simply stopped existing. "We are losing the left flank," a voice reported over the communication system. "The Morning Star is gone. The Defiant is falling back. All ships concentrate fire on the breach point," Yuna ordered. "We do not need to kill it. We just need to drive it back." The fleet adjusted, focusing all their strange weapons on a single point. The tear in space began to shrink. The Nameless entity resisted, fought back, but slowly it was pushed back through the breach. And then, with a sound like reality sighing in relief, the breach sealed. Silence fell over the bridge. People began reporting damage, casualties, losses. Taemin heard the numbers and felt sick. 12 ships destroyed, over 5,000 people dead. And this was just one battle, just one of hundreds, thousands that the Veil fleet had fought over the decades. "This is what we do," Yuna said quietly, seeing his expression. "Every day, every week. The breaches keep opening, the Nameless keep coming, and we keep fighting, because if we do not, they will spread. They will reach the core worlds, and then everything ends." "There has to be another way," Taemin said desperately. "You cannot keep this up forever. You will run out of ships, out of people." "We know," Yuna said. Her voice was tired, so tired. "But we have held for a century. We will hold for another, and another. For as long as we can. It is what humans do. We endure." The alert system activated again, but this time it was not another Nameless breach. It was something else. Ships were approaching from Council space. "A lot of ships, a fleet. Identify them," Yuna ordered. "Council military vessels," the sensor operator reported. 30 warships. "They are hailing us." Yuna's face became expressionless. "Put them through." The view screen changed, showing the bridge of a Council warship. The commander was a species Taemin did not recognize, all hard scales and cold eyes. "Attention, unauthorized vessels," the commander said. "You are operating in violation of Council law. Identify yourselves immediately or we will open fire." Yuna stepped forward. "I am Admiral Yuna of the Veil Fleet. These are human ships. We are conducting defensive operations against hostile entities." "Humans are extinct," the commander said flatly. "You are impersonating a dead species. This is a serious crime. You will surrender your ships for inspection." "We will do no such thing," Yuna said, her voice cold. "We have been fighting and dying out here for a century to protect you. To protect everyone. And you dare come here and threaten us? You are a danger to galactic stability," the commander said. "The Council has decided. You will be contained or destroyed." Taemin felt rage burning through him. "They knew. They sent Sunho to stop us from finding you. They want you to stay lost." "Then they are fools," Yuna said. She turned to her crew. "All ships, defensive formation. Do not fire unless fired upon, but be ready." The tension on the bridge was suffocating. 2 fleets facing each other, ready to fight. But then something changed. Space began to tremble. A new alert sounded. "Breach opening," the sensor operator called out, voice panicked. "Multiple breaches. Large ones. The Nameless are coming through, more than I have ever seen." Through the viewports, Taemin could see tiers opening all around them, dozens of them, and through each tier came the Nameless, hungry and terrible. "All ships, engage!" Yuna ordered. "Protect the Council fleet. They do not know how to fight this." The human ships moved without hesitation, placing themselves between the Council vessels and the approaching Nameless. They fired their reality-breaking weapons, fighting with desperate courage. And despite everything, despite the threats and the accusations, they were protecting the ones who had abandoned them. The Council ships were dying. Their weapons passed through the Nameless without effect. Their shields offered no protection against enemies that existed outside normal reality. Ship after ship blinked out of existence as the creatures of unreality touched them. The Council commander's face on the view screen showed terror, the kind that came from facing something the mind could not understand. "Fall back," the commander was screaming. "Retreat to safe distance." But there was no safe distance. The Nameless were everywhere, pouring through breaches that kept opening across this region of space. The battle had become a massacre. All Veil Fleet ships, Formation Omega, Una commanded. Her voice was steady, calm. She had fought this battle 1,000 times before. Protect the Council vessels. Drive the Nameless back to their breaches. The human ships moved with fluid precision, their strange weapons tearing holes in reality to hurt things that should not exist. Taman watched from the bridge of the Eternal Vigil, helpless. He was a soldier, but he had no training for this kind of combat. All he could do was watch as his sister and her people fought to save those who had condemned them to isolation. Why are we protecting them? Daehyun asked, anger clear in his voice. They came here to destroy us. Let them face the consequences of their ignorance. Because that is what humans do. Una said simply. We protect people, even when they do not deserve it. Even when they hate us for it. It is who we are. A new voice joined the conversation. It was Bora speaking through the ship's communication system. Taemin, I have been analyzing the breach patterns. This is not random. The Nameless are being drawn here. Something is calling to them. What could call to them? Taemin asked. There are ancient structures in this region, Bora replied. Precursor installations very old and very powerful. I think one of them has been activated. It is sending out signals that the Nameless are responding to. If we do not shut it down, they will keep coming. More and more until nothing is left. Una turned to face Taemin. Can you locate the installation? Already done, Bora said. Sending coordinates now. But there is a problem. The installation is inside the largest breach. Someone will have to go in there, into that space where the Nameless exist and manually shut it down. That is suicide, Daehyun said flatly. Yes, Bora agreed. It is. Una's expression hardened. I will go. I have led these people for a century. If someone must die to save them, it should be me. No, Taemin said. The word came out before he could think about it. There is another way. Bora, you said these are precursor installations, right? Built by the species that came before? Yes, what are you thinking? The precursors built networks, Taemin said, his mind racing. He had studied the data from the research station, read every file. Their technology was designed to work together to create barriers and defenses. If we could link multiple installations, create a network, we could build a permanent barrier, something that would contain the Nameless. That would require someone to interface with the precursor systems, Bora said slowly. The technology is ancient, dangerous, and it was designed for the precursor species, not for humans. But I am human, Taemin said. Original human, unchanged. Your people, Una, they have adapted and modified themselves to survive out here. But I am from before all that. Maybe the precursor technology will respond differently to me. Una grabbed his arm. Taemin, no. I just found you again. I am not losing you. You will not lose me, Taemin said, though he was not sure he believed it. But if we do nothing, everyone dies. The fleet, the council ships, everyone. This is the only chance. Juan stepped forward. I will go with you. The precursors were ancient beyond measure. You will need someone who understands archaeology and old systems. And you will need me, Jiwon said. I can interface with technology in ways organic beings cannot. My crystalline structure allows me to connect directly with computer systems. Daehyun looked at Una. And you will need someone who can fight. I am coming too. Una looked at all of them, these people who were volunteering to walk into death. Her mechanical eye glowed brighter, a sign of emotion in her modified body. Then I am coming too. We do this together. They took a small, fast ship, one designed for navigating the dangerous spaces of the Veil. As they approached the largest breach, Taemin could feel reality itself becoming unstable. His vision blurred. His sense of up and down disappeared. It was like falling into a nightmare. They passed through the breach. The space beyond was wrong in ways that made Taemin's mind hurt. There were colors that should not exist, shapes that had too many angles, and the Nameless were everywhere, vast creatures that seemed to be made of unreality itself. The installation is ahead, Bora said. Her voice was distorted, struggling to function in this place. 2 kilometers. But Taemin, I am losing coherence. The Veil is breaking me apart. I do not know how much longer I can help. Stay with me, Bora, Taemin pleaded. Just a little longer, please. They reached the installation. It was a massive structure, floating in the void, covered in symbols and patterns that hurt to look at. Energy pulsed from it in waves, and Taemin understood. This was what was calling the Nameless. some ancient defense system, activated by accident or intention, sending out a signal that creatures of unreality found irresistible. I am detecting 5 more installations within range, Ji-Wan said, her body glowing as she interfaced with the precursor technology. If we can link them, create a network, the combined power might be enough to create a barrier. But someone needs to interface with the central system, Juan said, studying the installation's entrance. Someone needs to go inside and manually connect the network. Taemin knew what he had to do. That is me. I am the only one who might work with the precursor interface. Then I am going with you, Yuna said. No arguments. They entered the installation together, brother and sister, walking into the heart of something built by beings that had died out millennia ago. The interior was vast, filled with technology that seemed more like art than machinery. And at the center was a chamber, and in that chamber was an interface. It was clearly meant for a different species. The controls were wrong, the size incorrect, but Taemin approached it anyway. When he touched it, the system came alive. Information flooded into his mind, too much, too fast. He screamed, "Taemin!" Yuna grabbed him, but he could not respond. He was connected to the installation now, his mind linked to systems that spanned light years. He could feel the other installations, sense their locations, understand their functions, and he understood what needed to be done. "Yuna," he gasped, "the network can be activated. It will create a permanent barrier, containing the nameless in this region. But it needs power. Constant power. Someone has to stay connected to the system. Forever." "Then we stay together," Yuna said immediately. "I will not leave you." "No," Taemin said. "Your people need you. They need a leader. They need someone who understands what they have sacrificed. I am just one person. But you are the hope of humanity." "You are my brother," Yuna said, tears streaming down her face. "You are my family." "And you are theirs," Taemin said, gesturing toward the fleet outside. 300,000 people who depend on you, who trust you, who love you. I can do this, Yuna. Let me do this. Let me save everyone. Outside, the battle was reaching its critical point. The nameless were overwhelming the defenses. Ships were dying. People were dying. There was no more time. "I love you," Yuna whispered. "Little brother, I love you. I love you too," Taemin said. "Now go and tell them. Tell everyone what happened here. Tell them humans never stopped fighting." Yuna ran. She had to. She was a leader, and leaders made hard choices. Taemin watched her go, then turned back to the interface. He placed both hands on it and opened his mind completely. The pain was incredible. Information flooded through him, turning his mind into a conduit for forces that were never meant to touch human consciousness. But he held on. He reached out to the other installations, linking them, creating the network. Power surged through the system. Outside, barriers of pure energy began to form. They stretched across space, connecting the installations, creating a cage. The nameless sensed what was happening and tried to break through, but the barriers held. They were being contained. Daehyun, Hwan, and Ji-Won watched from their ship as the barriers solidified. "He did it," Ji-Won whispered. "Taemin created a prison for the nameless." "But at what cost?" Hwan asked. Inside the installation, Taemin could no longer feel his body. He was the network now. His consciousness spread across the barrier system. He could sense the nameless pressing against the walls of their cage. He would have to hold them here, maintain the barriers forever. His mind would be the lock that kept them contained. It was not death, but it was not life either. It was something in between, a kind of immortality that was also a prison. But the galaxy was safe. That was enough. Yuna returned to the eternal vigil, her face wet with tears but her posture straight. She stood on the bridge and opened a channel to all ships, both human and council. "The barrier is holding," she announced. "The nameless are contained. This region of space is now quarantined. My brother Taemin has given his life to create this prison. He sacrificed himself to save all of you." The council commander appeared on screen, his earlier arrogance gone. "Admiral Yuna, we did not understand. We were wrong about humanity. Wrong about everything." "Yes, you were," Yuna said coldly. "For a century, we fought alone. We bled alone. We died alone. Because you were too afraid to face the truth. That sometimes the only way to protect everything is to sacrifice yourself." She paused. But we do not seek revenge. We seek recognition. The archives will be updated. They will say that humans never returned to council space, but they will also say that we never truly left, that we stayed in the Veil holding the line, protecting everyone. It will be done, the council commander promised. The archives will be updated immediately. Humanity's sacrifice will be remembered. See that it is, Una said. She looked at her fleet, at the ships that had become home, at the people who had become family. Veil fleet, prepare to withdraw. We have held this position. Now we must patrol the barrier. Ensure it never fails. The mission continues. Daehyun stood beside her. What about Tai Min? Can we get him back? No, Bora said softly. She had recovered somewhat now that they were outside the breach. He is part of the barrier now. His consciousness maintains it. If we try to remove him, the entire system will collapse. He is gone. But he is also everywhere. Watching. Protecting. Una touched the viewport, looking at the glowing barriers that now contained the Nameless. Somewhere in that network of energy and ancient technology was her brother. Then we make sure his sacrifice means something. We continue the watch. We hold the line. For as long as necessary. Forever, if that is what it takes. The human fleet began to withdraw, moving back into the Veil. The council ships watched them go, these impossible people who had survived extinction and transformed themselves into guardians. As the last human ship disappeared, a new signal began broadcasting. It was automated, set to repeat forever. To anyone listening, this is the Veil fleet. We are humanity's children. We guard the barrier. We hold back the darkness. We are here. We will always be here. On Earth, now a monument world, something changed. The archives that had listed humanity as extinct for a century suddenly updated. New entries appeared. Status active. Location classified. Mission Eternal Guardian. And on the memorial to Lost Earth, a new inscription appeared, carved by automated systems that no one had authorized. The words glowed faintly in the darkness. The archive said humans never returned. They were wrong. We never left. We are in the sky. We are in the darkness between stars. We are the silent guardians. We are the eternal watch. We are humanity. And we will always be here. Taemin, if he could still be called that, felt the network humming with power. He could sense his sister's fleet moving away, sense the council ships returning to their space. He could feel the Nameless pressing against their prison. Forever hungry, forever contained. It was lonely. It would be lonely forever. But it was also right. He had saved them, saved everyone, and that made the loneliness bearable. In the end, that was the human way. Not the strongest, not the smartest, but willing to pay any price to protect others. Willing to sacrifice everything, even their own existence, to ensure that life continued. The sky had disagreed with the archives, and the sky, as always, was right.